Okay, 5.1, the 29th of May, and there's some consideration of the recommendations of that. Anyone here that's on that committee?
I think I'll just take and Councillor King was there in the role of chair as well, and I think the meeting went really well. And
Speaker on, please. Sorry. Okay, thank you, Councillor Jolland. You happy to move that? Yes, seconded by Councillor King. The lake protection, sorry, yeah, receipt of the lake protection minutes. Councillor Jolland, seconded by Councillor Kingy. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. 5.2, contract of TDC Kinloch wastewater irrigation.
To award, it's a construction contract for award to Enviro Water Limited for irrigation installation in the Kinloch Public Golf Course, which is the 10-hole course. The council bought 2020, so take the item as read, and if you've got any questions, happy to take them.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions of Mike?
Through the chair,
Councillor Jollins.
do this. What were the key matters that we needed to consider when the resource consent went through?
So this is a condition of consent.
Sure.
To install
So this is the condition. Yeah.
This is one of the major conditions.
Okay, and just in terms of any effects that we need to consider or be aware of, environmental effects, any other effects of what we're doing?
No, so I guess the fund ground and spread that over a wider area and give grass the opportunity to take up a bit more nutrients than happens at the moment. So this is a step to reduce environmental impact.
Councillor Hickling.
Yeah, Mike, could you explain where the irrigation's fairways or not, or what?
Yeah, so the irrigation will be through the fairways of the golf course. It's all subsurface, so it's not a spray type irrigation. It's a slow drip type irrigation, and it's to be in the fairways of the golf course. And we're working with the ground staff at the golf course to select the right areas that suit them.
Okay, Councillor Boddy.
Thank you, Mr. Cadell. In the figures that are given, we've got the 1.348 and then the contingency of 130. Is that part of the 1348 or in addition to?
That's in addition to. So the reason for that is this is a design build type process where we've asked companies to present it's not a full detailed design at the tender stage, but it's close. And so there's a few items that we are going to work through as we do the detailed design with them, and the extra sum is to cover some of those items.
That's clearly put here, but I just needed to check.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Michael, is there any interruption to the actual golf course? It might be in the article, might be in the, and obviously that will be well communicated.
Yes, that's right. There will be, certainly. That's something we've got to work with the golf course on as to how and the contractor as to how it's rolled out. But each fairway will have to be, it's installed with a mole plough, which is a technology where you sort of drag the pipes in underground without too much trenching. The idea is to have all of the on-golf course work finished before the busy holiday period.
Sure. I would suggest as much communication to the various representative groups out there too would be
would
be great.
On Thursday.
Yeah, cool. And also a significant reduction on the engineer's estimate, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well done.
Yeah. The two tenders we had were similar, so
yeah,
the
I see
engineers
that.
overestimated there.
Awesome. Any other questions of Mike? No. Obviously, communication is that big thing. What I have regarding the northern corridor, the communications have been excellent. So many people have complimented; they know exactly what's happening. So that's fantastic. So
sorry,
thank you very much.
Sorry, through
yes.
the chair.
Yes.
We have had a meeting out there for all the affected landowners adjacent to the golf course, and also to the wastewater treatment plant. Learning from our experiences last time.
Yes.
Getting in early. Unfortunately, we only had one person turn up, but we are going to be doing some more with that with the Kinloch residents group and others in the near future.
Yeah, I can confirm
Thank you.
it's for a point of discussion on Thursday, and the staff here were very kind and sent through the agenda item early to the KRG members as well, so everyone's appraised of what's happening.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Johns. Thank you, Mike. I presume Enviro Water is an offshoot of Enviro Waste, are they? Or
No,
no?
totally
Different company.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. The recommendation is put there in front of you. Happy to move, Councillor Jollins, seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Is against? Carried. Thank you, Michael. Much appreciated. 5.3 variations to security contract. We have Gareth Robinson. And you got a chap.
Good
He looks
afternoon, Your Worship
familiar.
and councillors.
Yes.
I'm going to introduce Darren Pinkett. He's part of the facilities team and he'll be presenting the paper today.
Oh, welcome aboard. Thank you, Darren. Is this one of your first presentations?
Yeah,
So normally we allow 30 minutes of you talking. So just yes, yeah, I realise that. Yeah.
Thank you, Honour and Council.
No, go ahead, Darren. Welcome. Good to have you presenting today.
thank you for the chance or the opportunity. We're here today seeking approval for unexpended unbudgeted expenditure for $45,015 for security contract variations that were out of our control when the initial contract was launched back in 2018, of February 2018. Some of these variations have come to us from, obviously, they're in the paper, but obviously changes in Turangi with the ANZ Bank closing down. So variations were put in place to obviously get cash transferred back to Taupo as one of the bigger ones.
Just a little bit louder, sorry, just for the
Sorry.
audience outside. Yeah.
If you have any questions, feel free to comment.
Okay, no problems at all. Any questions, Councillor Body?
Just to thank you, that Darren. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
In regards to the ANZ, would the ANZ as the owner of the machine be the one that transfers the money, or wouldn't they be the ones paying for the contract?
No, so what used to happen, what was happening was that staff were taking the cash to the NZ and banking it at the NZ Bank.
Staff.
So what happened now
Okay.
is they've actually, now that obviously the bank's closed down and everything's down there, we've actually asked for the security contractors to bring the cash back to Taupo now. Similar to what we do carry out here really with regards to picking up from
So
the
that
areas.
ATM facility is not like some others where you just push the envelope through the door.
I don't even think there's an ATM there anymore. It's gone now. It's
gone.
completely gone. Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, deposit.
Okay.
Yeah.
My second question, Your Worship, was Cherry Island. I've been down there on the walk a couple of times in the last year. It's a bridge that's going to nowhere, basically.
Mhm.
Mr. Robinson likes pulling things down. If the bridge was removed, would we still have to have that contract? It seems to be $3,650 for.
Well, this is for it's for the closing of the gates and for that kind of stuff.
Add that
Really.
down
So
there,
it's
okay.
more the reserves side of things
Okay.
more than it is than the actual.
That answers it. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, so that was missed. I didn't see that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this cost must be inflicted on a lot of Turangi businesses with this bank closing down. So the wider ramifications of a small provincial bank closing down is causes all sorts of ramifications, doesn't it? Yeah. Sorry.
Just through the chair, is this over the 3-year period, not per annum?
So the 45,015 is per year.
Right,
That
okay.
is. But then what we've done is we've shown as a total over the 3-year contract as a 16.2%. But obviously we're already halfway through that contract now.
So Darren, someone's had a good look at these prices to make sure they're fair. They're given some sort of
Yeah, Senjo have obviously offered these on their contracted rates that they've provided in the original
Okay.
documentation.
right. Okay. And Crown Park toilets is obviously a new one because of some vandalism.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this football hooligans, you mean, or?
Being of a football background, I wouldn't like to say it's the football hooligans, but
No, that's all right. No problems at all. Doesn't happen in rugby, that's all. Anyway. All right. Any other questions of Darren?
Hi, Darren.
Councillor
Roseanne.
Jollins?
Just a quick question from me. Obviously, these costs come across because we've got an increase in scope. Did we just look at the current workload that they're doing to see if there were any areas where they didn't need to be working that could have
We
you know, swapping
we have
off.
reviewed the contract and looked over what's there, and everything still covers everything really that we need to. There's nothing else where we can take anything out, addition to that. So yeah. Yep, that's okay. Thank you.
Perhaps just a question for you, Gareth. So you're happy with the contractor? He's doing a good job? They're doing a good job?
Yeah, we're actually really stoked with Senjo. They've
Yeah.
gone over and above their call of duties for us. So yeah, really
Great.
happy.
All right, awesome. Okay, suggested recommendation there. Thanks, Darren. We go ahead with this. Moved by Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thanks very much, Darren. Well done. Right, 5.4, Waipapa 9 Trust Pouakani Roadways. Request that council consent to close unformed legal road. Dennis and Ella, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, councillors. I'll take the item as read, but I'll just summarise what it's about. Quite a while ago, we received a request from Waipapa 9 Trust seeking consent for the Maori Land Court to issue orders to close an unformed road that runs from basically Maritiri Poihipi intersection northeast to Turahonga Road. It also crosses the Turopaki E land, and that's shown in attachment 1, page 48, is the blue line. The road was originally laid out as a Maori roadway, and in 1966 was declared as a public road. It's unformed, and access to both of those properties is provided via Poihipi and Turahonga roads. Waipapa or the Maori Land Court requires both our consent and the Ministry of Transport's consent to take it to the Maori Land Court, and they're currently seeking Ministry of Transport consent. All of the costs are to be borne by Waipapa 9 Trust, and the decision to close the road or not rests with the Maori Land Court. Now, the reason that it rests with the Maori Land Court is because of the process that was involved in setting up the roadway in the first place. Because it was a Maori roadway, it goes back to the Maori Land Court for that closure process. So this agenda item is to seek consent from council for that process to occur.
Never knew it was there.
There's a lot of unformed roads around the
Did you know
district,
it
Your
was
Worship.
Okay. Any questions of Dennis and Ella? Councillor Jollins.
Just a quick question from me. If that road goes back to private, are there any other adjoining neighbours that it's going to impact on their access at all?
No, there isn't.
None at all?
No.
Okay.
We will never need that road, even with the influx of dairy farms and all that sort of thing for getting tankers quicker to the factory or whatever. No.
I can't foresee any future need
Yeah.
for the road. As
Yeah.
I said earlier, both of those blocks of land are serviced from both Turahonga and Poihipi Road.
Which are good roads, aren't
Yes.
they? Really. So, all right. Any other questions of Dennis and Ella?
I think the other fact is they haven't paid us money, so we're not paying them money. Is that the way it works? Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Very self-explanatory there. Thank you. Nothing to add, Ella? No. All right. Okay, been moved by Councillor Jollins, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against, carried. Thanks very much. All right, 5.5, Health and Safety Report. Michelle. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Very good. Okay, the floor is yours, Michelle. Have you got we've obviously received your report. Have you got anything to add?
Just that there has been a big focus on the health and wellbeing across employees and contractors for this year. There's great initiatives in what we've done in the workplace, and also just the Vault 3 upgrade has given us some capability for more accurate reporting which you'll see in this report. We've got some graphs and some data, basically.
Right.
So, is there any additional questions or comments?
Good. Okay. When you say the health and well-being, that's the Dr. Tom stuff and all that sort of thing?
That, and also Waikato Occupational Health Consultancy. We engaged them last year and took on an extensive monitoring program of
Yes.
our workers, just around us, asbestos monitoring, hearing, eyesight, just general well-being.
Yep.
So some of that is legislative compliance, and we also extended it to our office staff, which didn't fall under the legislative requirement, but as a health initiative, drawn by Gareth.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Do you know what the, it's probably might not be your area, but the uptake of the flu vaccinations were? How many?
I think there was 104
I should read it, shouldn't
had the uptake and 44 with the buckle-in.
Okay,
And
good.
so,
That's
yeah,
good.
and that was extended down to Turangi and to Mangakino.
Great. Awesome. Any other questions of Michelle?
You think that right at the
Councillor Body.
right at the last page it talks about injury management. You've got those
Yeah.
scores, TRIF and lift and whatever. TRIF's 11.7, but the target's 10.9, so we didn't quite get there. Is that right, or did you read it the
That's
other way?
actually good.
It's good. So
yeah.
the one down, next one down, 9.7
And the target's
versus
2.
2, so that's good
Yeah,
too.
that was our lost time injury frequency rate, and we had 2 employees that actually had a lot of time off work with an injury, and because it's a workplace one, and some of that's we haven't got an extensive program in place for restricted work, but that's one thing that we're looking at more so this year, rather than the doctors just saying straight out you're not fit for work. And it's a bit of a hard one because we can't overrule the good doctor's decision. However, we can put some light duty recommendations in, which we're endeavouring to do this year.
Very good. Okay, any other questions of Michelle? No?
Hi, Michelle. Roseanne, just a quick question from me, and it relates to the injury management measures
Yeah.
as well. How do we set what we think is an acceptable target? What are we benchmarked against similar how does it work?
The benchmark we can set, but I let Volt set that, the body, based on other organisations that they have used. So we haven't got a benchmark as yet to start at. We can look at this year and then next year, and we obviously want to bring them right down. So that was sort of a default benchmark that was set by Volt, and they look at other councils and other organisations that are using the Volt system.
So, hearing what you're saying, your intention is to track that further down.
Yeah, and my concern was more around the lost time injuries. Our actual worker injuries are pretty minimal, especially for the size of the organisation. I think we only had 4 or 5, and most of them are in the Parks and Reserves teams, which tend to be exposed to more rotating parts, lifting, manual handling. So that's sort of expected too. Yeah.
All right, Councillor Body.
I noticed that the Wairoa House asbestos was reported to Risk and Management on the 10th of June. Is that going to be reported on today in confidence, in the confidential part, or what's that report actually saying? It's
That
peer
was through
reviewed?
Risk and Audit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Brian's not here at the moment, so I'm not quite sure how that progresses next through to you.
So through the minutes, so it won't
Yeah.
be a specific item on the council agenda, it's on the minutes, which I think you approved
Just before.
just before.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I saw them on the minutes, but we also
Yep.
have an item on, do we not, on confidentiality?
Not on that item,
Oh,
no.
no. Okay, thank
No.
you.
Very good. That report's in those well, in the previous agenda anyway.
There is there is one in confidence as well, yes, which is on this afternoon, yes.
My question whether we can just see what it says then, or can it be discussed in open meeting?
No, the fact that it's in confidence is that
That's
it's
what I just wanted
confidential.
to see. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, thanks very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Can I have a mover, please, for the recommendation up there? Thank you, Councillor Park. Seconded by Councillor Hickling. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Right, 5.6, adoption of the amended long-term plan. Adley.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So the item you have in front of you is the culmination of a fairly long period of time, but it is the adoption of the amended long-term plan. So there's 3 resolutions there. The first one is receiving a report from Audit New Zealand that is contained within the amended long-term plan. The second one adopts the amended long-term plan. And then the third one just acknowledges again that there's a risk of, well, there will be a breach of the financial strategy in those years, which I know you did acknowledge by way of resolution on the 5th of June, but Audit did suggest that we just include it again as a resolution at this phase of the adoption. So I suppose the only thing that I just wanted to clarify was I sent an email yesterday just to give you an outline of the document that you are adopting. So it's a cover title, a front cover title, amended long-term plan. Then there's an introduction to the amendment, which is the pages that are changing. Then all the pages that are changing come after that, followed by the full long-term plan. Then slotting in between pages 189 and 190 is an updated audit opinion. And then the original audit opinion from the LTP from last year. So the Mayor's got a hard copy on his table, which includes the auditor's signature and the new opinion. That's not in the copy you've got, but it's just a matter of process. We have also got our auditors in the room. They've advised me that they're happy and they don't intend to speak, but if you would like to ask them any questions, they're happy to come up and answer those if you have any.
Oh, I might as well ask them something, eh? Hi, Clarence. No, any questions of the auditors while they're here? Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. Thank you for the invitation to come up. As I said, the process went really well. We're happy with how the amended long-term plan turned out. We're happy with the financial strategy. The only thing is highlighted on the board there, and that is the increase in the rates that will be more than the original financial strategy limits. And that's why we thought it's just good to highlight that.
Yeah.
And do you want to add anything, Liz?
Sorry, Clarence, the lady's name just escapes me. Liz, nice to have you here, Liz. Okay, well, thanks very much for that, Clarence, and fair enough to highlight that too. That's much appreciated, all your work, and obviously our relationship is good. So always nice to have a clean audit. Keeps everyone happy. Any questions of Clarence or Liz? Councillor Boddy.
Just very quickly, once again, thank you for your work. It's appreciated. I think I read, in what I read, you do procedure, but you don't comment on the outcomes. So you'd be saying to us that the way we as council performed the long-term plan amendment was true and correct, right and correct. Okay, thank you. It always concerns me when it's an opinion rather than a comment on what may be eventual, but that's not your responsibility.
That's correct. So we look at the underlying assumptions, make sure that that's in line with or the plan is prepared on that. We can't guarantee that the actuals will reflect what you planned will happen. So because it's looking forward, it's very difficult.
Yeah. So you can't comment on the quality of the councillors or the mayor or anything like that, don't you? I get that.
Or the decision.
I think that's what you're getting at, John, was it?
Quality of the decision.
Quality of the decision. All right, thank you, Clarence and Liz, coming down today. Appreciate it. It's always good to see you, so thank you for that. All right, Adley. The suggested recommendations are up there. Obviously, as you said, sorry.
I don't have anything further to add. Yep, it is.
A long time coming, I suppose, when we started talking about this probably a couple of years ago. So it's great to, come to a conclusion on this, that's for sure. And I suppose it's a real stone from the museum in the background there. So it's great to have him here acknowledging, witnessing this today. So, so do I have a mover for the amended long-term plan, please?
Your Worship, I just had a question, if I may,
sure.
before we do that, and I guess it's directed to Hadley. As a councillor, in terms of the amended long-term plan, I'm in support of one of the key aspects of the long-term plan amendment, but not the other. So is it possible for that point 2 resolution to have that split out, or do you need to have it in its entirety?
Because you're essentially adopting the long-term plan as amended, it has to be one resolution.
Cool. All right. There it is in front of you, 1, 2 and 3. Could I have a move? Councillor Hackling.
I'm happy to move the suggested resolution, Your Worship. It's been a long process, and we've had a good report from the audit department, so I'm happy to move the suggested resolution.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Hackling, seconded by Councillor Rankin. Would anyone like to speak against the amended long-term plan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will, and like Councillor Jolens, I am concerned that we can't break this particular resolution down. I just want to make a couple of points. Looking back on the consultation process and its conclusion, whether one agrees or disagrees, reflecting back, it was a little bit disappointing that we put 2 propositions up to the ratepayers or the citizens of our district. One was to do with the use of 72 Lake Terrace, and the other was to do with one of the options being the underground car park in 2 Whai Street. Now, it's rather interesting, in the document that we sent out for consultation, and we all said yes, and I'm guilty of that, we gave the risks, of which there were 2, then the advantages of 72 Lake Terrace. Now, I'm not going to debate the pros and cons of that, but what I was concerned about, that on the 31st of May, and the other one here I've got is dated the 29th of May, and the one to do with 72 Lake Terrace from Shield, basically said beyond all doubt we would not be able to go back to 72 because of we wouldn't win on existing use rights. So my comment is maybe we should have had the report 3 months before that, when we could have consulted to say this is what Shield says or someone says in regards to that particular site. Now, the other side, of course, that was interest, and the one that appears at the moment to be the option, was 2 Whai Street with an underground car park. Now, also, at the same time, this one is dated the 28th of May, we have a report, consultant report on building parking within our town centre. And what has concerned me again, because this was given right at the last date and didn't go out for the consultation, was a comment that was made, and I read it at the last meeting, for this reason, and due to the small effect on oversupply, the underground car park at 2 Whai Robert Street location is not considered to be essential. And at that last meeting that we had, I pointed out we had an offer of a car park for about 2-point-something million, and we didn't even get round to negotiating that. So I just want to make that point. The other 2 points I wish to make, looking that we could end up in the next few years with a gross debt of 170 million, and I'm not going to entertain that. That when I stood for this council seat some nearly 6 years ago now, one of my stands was reduction of debt. And we said in the first long-term plan I was involved with that by, I think it was 2025, our gross debt would be down to 103 million. The one we did 12 months ago, we stated, with increased expenditure required for infrastructure in the next 30 years, the desire to reach council's debt, and I go for the word really, and the ageing population, affordability of rates needs to be taken into account in the future financial strategies. And as I just said, if we're now going to tell the citizens of this district our gross debt could be, forgetting it, gross debt could be 160, 170, I'm very concerned over that. And what I also find quite interesting, I made a comment at our last meeting in regards of why didn't staff go and talk to businesses that may be affected with in-boom car parking? And Councillor Park made the comment about it's really our job, not theirs. But I'll remind Council that under our Freed Committee, if we're going to put a pedestrian crossing in, or if we're going to take car parks for a disability car park, those businesses affected are visited by staff. They weren't, and I believe those businesses were disadvantaged. And it was the same, Your Worship, when I made comment in regards to those businesses. You held up the consultation document, said, well, you've got this. Well, I'm looking at it now, And in regards of the two Whai Street, Robert Street, there's no mention where those inburns are. But to me, the crunch came down when three of us went and spoke to, or didn't speak, Mr. King did, at the Tahara College. And what impressed me there was two questions in particular. When we talked about 21 million for a building, one of the senior pupils sort of made the comment, quite, not aggressively, but why 21 million? Why are you spending that on the building? But the crunch came when the comment was made in Mr. King's address about wanting staff all in one building. I can still remember, and Councillor Park might as well, this young lady got up and made quite a cutting comment, which I won't repeat, and then left. And that said to me was, even our younger population are concerned about where we're going with our debt. And finally, just to sum up, we continue to say in our reports about we may not exceed that 1.5. Now, for a number of years now, we're going to exceed that, and that's another reason I'm voting, unfortunately, in its entirety, because I fully support our money's going towards that arts and museum part of our infrastructure in Taupo, so I'm voting against the resolution.
Anyone else on the phone against? Councillor Kingi?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Look, just for the sake of clarity too, I'm in a very similar position. As you guys know, I expressed my concern when we were discussing this matter previously. However, I do support the arts and the museum part of the resolution, but I'll stand by that earlier decision, which is we need to consider other things, because I was worried about that impact across the district, not just for some of the folks I represent at the southern end of the lake, but across the district. So unfortunately, given that we can't reflect that in a resolution, I'll be voting against the resolution as well. Thanks, Your Worship.
Councillor Jollins?
Sorry, and I just wanted to add for clarity as well that I will be voting against this recommendation as well. I'm fully in support, as the other two councillors are, of the museum and arts development on the Tongariro domain, and in many ways for me that was one of the key things that came out of the consultation about the community wanting a civic heart. What I cannot support though is the expenditure and the location on 2 Whai Street. I don't believe that it is actually up there in terms of the priorities for this community, and I am concerned about the increase in costs over the coming years. So for that matter, I will be voting against it too.
Okay. All right. Is anyone want to speak in favour? Okay, there's 1, 2 and 3 there. I'll move that recommendation. Could I have a mover, sorry? Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Hickling. Rick?
I think it was the other way around.
Oh, sorry, you already moved it, did you? Sorry. Yep, it's a while ago. All right. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against?
No.
And would you like that recorded?
Recording, could we have a division as well, please?
Cool. Very good. Okay. What have we got now? Item 5.7, adoption of the response to the submissions of the letters back. Yep.
Yeah, so this is just the response to the submitters received on the consultation document. I circulated that to councillors some time back. I have received some comments from Councillor Body, but I think we've resolved those. I think.
Could I just ask, was that word when it was amended? We may.
It was such as.
So I was wrong again. I apologise.
All right. Can I have a mover, please, for those responses? Thank you. Moved by Councillor John, seconded by Councillor Park. Those in favour, please say aye. Okay, 5.8, adoption of
Sorry, Your Worship, just before you move on, can we just say thank you to all the staff that put in over 2 years' effort into
absolutely
bringing that about. Everyone did a fantastic job, and we wouldn't be able to do our job if we didn't have your great support, so thanks.
Very good. Okay. 5.8, adoption of the annual plan 2019-20.
Yes, so this is the adoption of the annual plan for the coming financial year, which begins on the 1st of July. There was a council workshop on the 28th of May, which has led through to this document being produced today for your adoption. I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to it.
No. All right, all pretty straightforward. got no support today, Ian.
And I'm not going to vote against it, but it'll be on webcam record that I am concerned that we had another 1% rise as against what we said to people 12 months ago. And I notice, Your Worship, I think in one of the letters here, you make the comment about slightly higher than the 2.67. Well, Mr. Manhattan will correct my maths, but I worked that out as a 36% increase, which is quite significant. And once again, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place because I fully support some of our directions in the annual plan, but not that rate increase. But as I can't vote, and I don't want to say no, so my point's been made.
All right. Do I have a mover, please, for that, for the adoption of the annual plan? Thank you, Councillor Stewart, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Hadley, and thank you for all your work, sir, and amongst your other duties. Oh, you're still here. Okay, 5.9, the rates resolution, of course they are, sorry. Rates resolution. Tony.
This is our rates resolution, so this is going to set our rates for from 1 July to 30 June for the coming year. So we have to set our rates by resolution. We've just accepted our funding impact statement through our annual plan, and this is the next step to that.
Yep. Cool. All right, any questions of Tony? You got it up there? Oh, okay. Yep. Right.
Yeah, so it's setting our rates and our penalties for the coming year.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Just a general comment, please. Out of the general rate, it's rather interesting because we're now based on capital value. The big disparity now between houses built in the 1970s to some of the new builds we're getting at the moment, because it's based on capital value. In one property that I'm very familiar with, the difference between that person's rates and mine on a section about the same size is $900. That's quite substantial. So I believe in the next 12 months, whoever's in power, we need to readdress, as Mr. Ward knows, I love that UAG word. So I'm just making a point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boddy. All right, can I have a mover, please? Oh, sorry, Neil.
Sorry, David.
Yep.
Just before that, I guess the old doctrines are no surprises. So I guess just a comment around in particular around the water rates. Obviously, we've gone through all of the annual plan stuff with you previously, but as you know, with the increased compliance standards and that around water, and the fact that we are still on separately rated schemes, there are some reasonably significant movements across some of the smaller schemes in particular. So just a bit of a heads up in case you get some phone calls from some of our ratepayers saying, gosh, my water rates have gone up a bit more than I expected. It's really due to that compliance stuff and the increased monitoring and everything that we've had to put in. Kinloch is one that you should be aware of.
Yeah. So on that matter, Mr. Ward, for those ratepayers that are going to see some significant increases in their targeted rates around water, will we communicate to them over and above here's your rates notice? Are we going to add some comms around that piece?
I may refer to my colleagues sitting over, the experts sitting over there. Yeah, I think yes is the answer.
I mean, I think we should, because for some people this is a significant part of their expense against their whatever income they have. So I think a heads up's good.
Yep.
Yeah, is that a normal practice? I'm not too sure about that. Can we? Because you started on, if you start going down this track, what's significant to some people that might not.
It's probably a good idea to use the ratepayers newsletter that we put in with the rates demands as the vehicle to try and communicate some of those changes.
Yeah, Okay.
So I think it'll be around education of what it is that rate's covering, and I think it's only fair when, as say Neil's pointed out, Kinloch, but you look at Whakamaru, that's a 100% or so increase. So identifying out what that legislative compliance stuff is and why we have to do it is an important one. And it's one for you to keep in mind when we go forward, looking at district-wide rating and stuff like that, and how that happens, because otherwise this is what is going to happen and continue to happen over the next few years.
And it's around the amount of people to pay. You know, these smaller schemes, they've only, like Artimuri's got 75 people to pay the increase, and that's what happens.
All right. Okay. Suggested recommendation there. Do I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Hickling, thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. It's against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Right, 5.10, disposal of Lake Terrace. Flash. Press the button.
Sorry about that. It's not normal for me to be in this bit of the council meeting, so yeah. So I was going to take the item as read. I think the only additional comment is the reason for expression of interest over other sales methods, assuming that's what council wishes, is basically, as it says in the report, we still have some council staff there. Probably the most important is the emergency centre is there, whereas an expression of interest gives us a chance to flesh out some solutions to that. Who knows what we're going to get offered? Somebody else may have a building they're willing to let us use. They may be happy for us to remain there, you know, until such time as we move out. It's just the best way of fishing out the most financially beneficial and practical method.
Straightforward. So then we can dictate what goes on, yeah. Cool. Any questions of Flash? Councillor Body?
Just a quick question. What type of buildings can go there?
That would be up to the purchaser to determine.
So could that purchaser put an administration building single story there?
Not offices, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it has to be hotel?
So it's zoned high density residential, so apartments, hotels, residential nature activities.
But having said that, the district plan allows, if someone wants to, just like we were with the administration block, if someone wants to apply that, they have to go through the resource consent process.
For anything over
They'd be
above
more
what the plan
successful.
provides, yeah.
They'd be more successful than us because they didn't have an existing use right. Would that be right?
No. So
less.
and well, actually no
All that
different. They can
less,
rely on our existing use rights the same as what we can, but the same challenges that we would have had, they would have. But again, that's for an office activity, and the same for any out of town centre office. But for again things like hotels, apartments, residential is all potentially permitted depending on the design.
Any other questions of Flash?
Just a quick one from me because I'm not a real estate agent. Is this the best time to be doing this? Will we maximise the potential of the property, considering it's a reasonably complicated exercise to take on right now because we've got stuff there?
Certainly the market currently, there's things aren't hanging around. There's this is, you know, fringe commercial, fringe. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot floating around, and what is around is being investigated for development. So I'd argue that it's as good a time as any. I mean, there's only one way to find out, to be honest.
Certainly the advice from I've had advice from two separate real estate companies in town, one which is represented around this table but not here today, and both of them have indicated sooner rather than later is a good idea from a maximising return.
Not really, no. It just comes down to, I mean, we could move things really quickly but there's a cost involved in that, so let's find out what. But then somebody developing the site, the reality is they'll probably want to do a resource consent, development plans. There's a period there that they're not going to be straight in with a digger to develop the site.
The registrations of interest don't necessarily have to come from real estate companies.
No,
They can
no.
be anyone.
This way we can anybody.
Anyone.
If there's an agent with a client that they work heavily with and approaches us that way, then yeah, we can talk to absolutely everybody.
Yeah, cool. So this will cover that, all that
Yeah.
sort of bases. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Flash. Suggested recommendation there to go out for expressions of interest, see what comes out of it. So I see CEO has but obviously he would bring any possible agreements to us. Is that how it works? So we can peruse? Yeah.
It's asking for consent for the CEO to get on with
Right.
the most financially appropriate deal to come out of this. We were aware that the elections are going to mean that there's a period of difficulty there, and we certainly wouldn't want to lose a purchaser by telling them we can't make a decision till.
Sure.
So it covers off that, as Flash says, covers off that election period, because otherwise from essentially next month you can't make a decision on something substantial. What it doesn't do is it doesn't shut off my ability to come and have a chat to you about the types of expressions of interest that we've had and get some feedback from you through that. And if you were of a mind of passing this today, I can assure you that that's what we would do.
Yeah, great. Yeah, it is a high-profile site, and I'm sure we would truly appreciate that. Yeah. Councillor Jollins?
But arguably, we could approve a recommendation to carry out the expressions of interest. That's the major decision to make, isn't it? And surely we could still come back to council. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with two.
I think from the purpose through you, I think if we're going to go to the market and somebody comes forward and says, yes, we want to go full steam ahead, they're not going to be willing to spend money on something that is actually going to be potentially a different set of councillors making the decision. They're not going to be wanting to commit to anything if there's basically nothing to commit to. If you want the best value for the land, then my belief is you'd need to be able to enter into an agreement. Otherwise, we can do
think,
this.
The CEO's hearing, around the table that he would no doubt let us know.
At the end of the day, you're my employer. I'm not going to do something significant without having a discussion with you first.
Yeah.
Should I take on board what Councillor Jolan said, and I fully support that Mr Green is the CEO. However, as a councillor, I got elected like the rest of us to carry out certain activities, and I would not want to see how do I diplomatically say this, not offend Mr Green? Don't worry. I believe it's our responsibility as councillors to make that decision for the CEO to go ahead and perform that sale. I wouldn't anyway vote as number 2 reads. I fully support the expression of interest. Then that comes back to us. Now, whether an election gets in the way, you have the choice of allowing that to happen, or 2, we wait till after the election. But I'm certainly not in favour of 2.
Can we put, yes, Councillor Rankin? So would you be happy with a minute? That was a minute?
That would have to, I support Councillor Rankin if that's actually added to 2. It's not there at the moment, it has to be there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mr Chairman, it's not a matter of confidence. When you have a resolution, it carries out a direction that must be taken. That doesn't give the direction that there's a reporting back. If it says reporting back, discussing with us, then I'd vote for it. But I'm not voting for 2 the way it's written at the moment.
So I think, again, we have to be a bit careful because of those elections, but I think my comments before, which were that I would bring it back to you, can certainly be minuted, which would make it quite clear in terms of my expectation. And then, again, you can hold me to account at my next performance review if I don't do that.
Yeah. don't want to affect the price.
Yeah, because for me the things are what are appropriate conditions and what are appropriate financial return, and that to me is just quite vague, which I guess is just, and that's to protect you as well. It's the reason why I was a bit concerned.
Okay, all right, it's been clearly minuted. There, Shani, correct? Okay, do I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. Very good. Thanks, Flash. Right, 5.11. Councillors May performance report.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll just start off with a few introductory comments based on the report there. I'm not going to read through them, obviously, but there's a couple of key issues. One that I would want to point out is this issue of the Turangi transfer station asbestos. I know we've communicated to you informally, but we haven't, short of a media release talking about the risk, we haven't had it in the public arena, so to speak. It is a significant issue, and there will be some significant costs for us in terms of managing that site. So that's one that we're highlighting to you there, because it's a major for us going ahead. Other than that, the other thing that I'd point out to you would be the number of, or the activity out in the community at the moment, particularly for our building consents team. And you'll see that our inspections are up 39% this month on the previous month. So that's a really good sign in terms of the amount of building work and activity that's happening out there in the district. So other than that, Your Worship, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, the team will walk you through the report.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mr. Green. Any questions at this stage from Mr. Green? Mr. Menhinnon, good afternoon.
Thank you, through the Chair. Well, the end of this weekend's the end of the financial year. So
yeah.
When we look at where we're at, it's been quite a challenge, because we started the year with planning a $10.5 million surplus. Then we approved during the year 1.946 million of unbudgeted expenditure. Our forecast is showing that we hopefully will end up the year at about 10.7. So, in other words, where we thought we'd start versus where we are going to finish, from an accounting perspective, looks to be pretty much the same. That's after all the unbudgeted expenditure. So, from that aspect, it's not too bad. From the investment side, apart from the reduction on the 8th of May of the OCR down to 1.5%, and the fact that potentially at the weekend we could have spent a number of millions of dollars on iTunes and a few other bits and pieces. We're still looking good from a investment perspective, and our shares have improved significantly, so potential at the early stages of the next financial year that we'll realise significant capital gains to assist us with the next year going forward. So
very good. So
basically, it's been a challenging year, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but the surplus is still a good result after that unbudgeted expenditure, so well done. Councillor Body.
Just quick, I think it was in the Till Fund report, in case it's not. How long do we have that 30 million for? We got 186 as it was for interest on it.
It was about
9 months? Or
7 months.
7 months.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions of Alan? No, that's great. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Who have we got next? Gina.
Really not much to report on from previous months in terms of the financials and the projects. As you can see there, again, really no change in terms of what we were able to complete. And we've got a number there which of course we can't, and some that have got overruns which have been updated on.
Any questions of Tina? Tina, Community Services.
Yeah, Scott and I stand in for Brian. He's away today. After you, Scott.
Yeah. So Gareth kind of summarised it quite nicely in terms of where we're at with building consents. So as you see, May was a massive month for building inspections, second biggest month I think we've ever had on record, 750 inspections for the month. Building generally has gone up by $300,000 in income, and that's really, it doesn't take much to walk around the town and see what's going on around town in terms of the investment in the town. A lot of that is also from not just the residential stuff, but also the commercial aspects. The non-residential side has increased greatly, and we've also had a really good year in terms of resource consents, and mainly around those notification hearings, which we've had record numbers of those. Middle of this year, and we continue to have a few hearings coming up, so income streams are still strong.
Good news, dog registration's tracking well this year compared to last, so I'm sure we'll all breathe a bit of a sigh of relief there. So that's tracking well. The couple of red dots you'll see there on the following page, they really relate to those couple of issues we had a couple of months ago. So for May, we hit our targets as required, 100% of all noise complaints responded to, and the dog control responses as well. So it's just that the performance measures at 100%. So if you slip once, then that's going to be red for the rest of the term.
Kia ora, Your Worship. Not a lot of change, but for the projects that are captured in our report, obviously you've had some big conversations around the Great Lake Pathway and that upgrade. Continue to be some conversations around Mochitete Campground and the leasing meeting with Hapu, so that's coming up in the very near future. Likewise, the Hydra slide is ticking along, and people are smiling quite nicely watching some of that work going along there. It's starting to get some favourable comments around what's coming up and being able to play in the next school holidays. But otherwise, that's us.
Okay, thanks, Dylan. Water, Mr. Strongman.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll take the paper as read, the water part, and I'll just comment on a couple of things as we go through. First of all, I think you'll notice in the upgrade to the water treatment plant in Taupo, there's been a bit of a delay in fabrication, so that's now going to be completed in October. So it's a few months delayed there, unfortunately. Acacia Bay upgrade, they're well through all of the modelling they're doing on that, and that's to further refine the design of booster pump stations and everything to get the water from town out to Acacia Bay. So that's going well, and Kinloch's July completion, and we're still on target for that. And I think you'll notice that Waitanui, the MOH funding has come through as well, has been processed. And the other one is Motuapa panel replacement in June. That's arrived in the country, so we're waiting to just install that, and that'll be over the next few weeks.
Cool. Okay,
Councillor Body. Very good question, Mr. Strongman. The Motuapa Reserve renewal, the difference this month it says 729, in May it said 752. Is that because of the 90 grand coming across from the other one?
What page are you on?
Oh, yeah, I'm on, what the hell is it? 175, water Motuapa renewal, right at the last one.
Okay, and that little comment there, 90k, yes, so that would be the reason.
Yes.
Hey, transport.
So really just want to comment primarily on Norman Smith Street. Obviously there's a lot of work happening there. We're currently doing day works rather than night works because it's the type of work that's better to be done in the day, so they're doing sealing and road marking. They're on track with that to be completed that mainly this week. The weather's not so great next week, and we are looking at a substantially decreased time frame for this, and we're probably looking at turning those lights on sometime early in July. Once we can get, I can notice the shivering there.
You're right. Are you there?
Do that early in July, but the contractors, after a lot of managing at the front end, have been really, really good, and particularly around the traffic management. So I think it's been, they've had to change it every night, every day, regularly throughout the day, and it's been flowing pretty well.
Yep. No, as I say, the communication's been excellent too. So 3rd of July, what time?
It was early July,
Oh,
because we can't confirm that,
right.
but it might be around 1:30ish.
Okay. Jack Wairaki to have a power cut up at the same time. All right. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. That's good. We look forward to seeing the result. Wastewater.
So wastewater, I don't think I had any special notes on that, unless there's any questions to ask.
No spillages. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Solid waste.
So through the chair, I think Gareth's covered it. Really, the main thing there is around the issues we're having down in Turangi with asbestos.
Yep. Stormwater.
And stormwater is just a note of the improvement device down in Turangi has been completed. So.
Okay. Thanks very much, Kevin.
Cool.
Busy. Yeah. Good. All right. Economic development, John.
Yeah, just we need a bit of snow, I think, up on the mountain. I gather that's a bit slow at the moment. Just the only thing I've got to notify you of is there's a ticketing machine for REL going into the Turangi Eye site fairly soon. So people will be able to buy tickets prior to going up to the mountains, so that's a good start.
And
So
the
any
gondola,
questions?
the gondola, as I heard, is going around and around. No one on it yet.
100
Some of the
hours of
staff members
testing,
have
I
been on
think.
it, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's looking fantastic, so that's great. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Appreciate that, and your management team here this afternoon for all the good work. Truly appreciated. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Stewart. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against. Carried. Poor old Councillor Truman doesn't get any go. Sorry about that. We're going to have to sort that computer. Yeah. All right, Tina, 5.12, expenses policy for elected members.
So
Tina.
we had a very brief workshop just outlining what those changes are, which are on the first page, and the policies being shown with the track changes. So really happy to take any questions in relation to the policy.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Any questions or queries of Tina? We've obviously had a workshop on this. Councillor Boddy?
Mrs. Jakes, is the one to do with travel time, is that new coming from the 1st of July this year, or have you had it in the past?
So travel time's always been there, and it's been based on anything over an hour, you get paid a full hour. The suggestion here is, so if you do a quarter of an hour at the moment, you get paid a full hour. So the suggestion here is if it's a quarter of an hour, you get paid half an hour, and if it's over half an hour, then you get the full hour, just in terms of the pro-ratering.
Okay, thank you. Having never been involved with this, I just question its validity. I get paid a, whatever you like to call it, stipend, honorarium, whatever, and part of that is to pay me for the job I do as a councillor. And I can't quite fathom out why, if I'm driving to Wanganui for a council meeting and it's over 1 hour, I'll be paid twice, not only for what I get as a stipend, but to be driving a car or flying a plane. I'm just wondering how my other councillors feel about that. We get an annual whatever, and I've always considered as part of what I get for doing what I do, no matter where I drive on behalf of council.
I would have to support Councillor Boddy in regard to the travel time. I very much view this is part of the job. I completely understand being reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses like vehicle mileage and having the right resources to do your job like iPads, etc. But this travel time thing, I can't support it. I think it's, frankly, I think it's double dipping.
So just to clarify, so what's the problem here? So you get paid an hour.
This is not new.
No,
Yeah.
it's
No,
not.
it's not new.
Yeah. Oh, the policies, it's always been in the policy to be paid your travel time.
Yeah.
This is just, I suppose, pro-ratering that hour after the first hour, which you don't use. So for the first hour, you don't get any reimbursement.
Yeah.
It's anything over the hour.
Yeah.
And so this is prorating that. So for those shorter trips over the hour, you get lesser
Get
lesser
lesser,
amount.
yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Well, as you can see, I've never claimed for my travel time
Yeah.
because I didn't even know it existed, and I guess that's my choice.
Yep.
I must admit, when I was a former councillor, I didn't. I must have
This
come in. When did it come
this
in?
was bought in previous 3 years, wasn't it?
Oh, it's
Oh,
been probably in for the last
6
six, I would
years.
say, yes.
For the
Yep.
last 6 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Be that may, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe it's right, so I will move that item be taken out of those following changes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak against that.
Yeah, certainly.
As a councillor that spent probably 12 years travelling backwards and forwards to Hamilton, which takes at least 2 hours, and 2 hours back for a meeting that usually lasted 4 hours, takes you a complete day. And I think it's warranted that a councillor is paid for the time that it takes to get to a meeting, particularly when it's out of district.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to speak against it? The motion's been moved. Do you have a seconder? Is there a seconder for council bodies amended?
There is from me, Your Worship.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. There appears to be no support, so we'll go back to the original recommendation. Correct? Have I done
just
it all
before
right?
it's put, Your Worship,
Yes.
I'd also like to just ask Tina, the bottom sentence regarding order meet and the requirements of the Public Works Act, only council issued iPads for the use by elected members.
Yes.
Is that a new one?
Yes, so previously there was the ability to have a choice whether to have council issued iPads or not, but the suggestion here to make sure that we are complying with the Public Records Act is for council issued only. So there's no
I
choice.
particularly raised that because I know that councillor Body has always had his own computer. So are you satisfied with that change, councillor Body?
Not, and I've looked up the Act. I need to do a bit more looking into it. I accept what Mrs. Jake said at the meeting just recently, that's what they're saying now. I didn't see anything specifically that said items, well, it might have said items by supply, but specifics. I'm very concerned, and I need to have an undertaking to have a talk to Mr. Jakes about this. Does everything that is sent to me under councillor Body or J Body councillor just go to that iPad? Because I do not want any of my private emails ending up on that iPad.
So it will go to whatever your address is. So if it's addressed to the councillor address, it'll go onto the councillor iPad. If it's addressed to your private email address, it'll go to whatever your own computer is. So it'll only be emails sent from you, from this address, or to you with your councillor address.
But just to further clarify that for clarity's sake, is that regardless of what device it's sent to, if the topic is about council business, then it's official information.
The members of the public, my phone got hacked in the weekend, so that's why everyone's laughing. So everyone was requested by iTunes vouchers off me apparently. Anyway, so if it was jbody@extra.co.nz, that and goes to a council.
It won't go to council anything.
Can you not retrieve other email addresses from your? Yeah. So.
He can retrieve them, but it would be that councillor's choice. So that by default, the council iPad is set up with your councillor address. So all of your emails that get sent to your councillor address would come through to your device, to whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can, by choice, go into your Gmail account, but that means that you are going onto the internet and looking at that yourself. But that's your call. But by sending something to jbody@extra, it doesn't automatically go to your councillor address. But my point before is that regardless of which of those addresses it is, the Goima applies.
The recommendation would be if you get a private email to extract it from from your home computer.
If you get a work-related email to your private address.
No, or just get a private email, full stop. Don't access it from your work computer. If you want it to be private.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But at the at the end of the day, though, there's a lot of logic that we're all using the same platforms
Yes.
because we've got to use the similar programs in terms of IT and security. It makes much more sense that we're all on the same platform.
It's easier to administrate.
Easier to
I'd say
administrate,
it's easier for our staff. It's cheaper. It's cheaper for the ratepayer doing it that way.
And it's really only the iPads. It's not the iPhone. So if you wish to have keep your own iPhone, that's fine. But that's where you have the choice.
Before the vote goes, Mr. Jakes, I take your opinion, but I'd like to discuss a little bit further with you as well.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. And there's no rush, leave it about 6 or 7 months, 8 months.
So this will be
All right.
from the new triennium, pretty much.
Okay. Thanks, Tina. Appreciate that, bringing that forward. So there's a recommendation there. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Truman, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Body. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Right, Tina, you're still there. 5.13, council engagements and conference opportunities.
So a little bit lighter this month, as you can see. Just to note, the Thursday, the 11th of July, we're looking at pulling together probably a half a day for some workshops. We're just trying to line those up, and we'll send that information out as soon as we're able to. And the next council meeting, just a reminder that we're having that at Mokai Marae.
The next council meeting, sorry?
Yes, Mokai.
Very good. Very good. Okay. No adjustments or anything required there. I have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Truman. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against, carried. Members' reports, 5.14. If there's any tabled reports, Councillor Rankin.
I just wanted to mention that for some unknown reason, I've had a lot of comments. 2 people have stopped me on the footpath in the last week talking about the dangers on the Great Lake Walkway. One woman rang me and I got her to ring you, Gareth. But several people have talked about the actions of cyclists on there, and I'm really quite worried about it. And I know that we're going to be investing the money in making it wider, but everyone's talking about signage and the fact that some cyclists are being ghastly to the walkers, and the older people are frightened. One man represented a group of older people, and he was really worried about what's happening. Is there anything we can do in the interim?
So through the chair, as you say, the medium term or quite quick term that's one of the reasons of our widening and our cutting out our blind corners there. It's largely an issue in terms of having more and more people using it. You know, the walkway's getting busier, which is a great problem to have. But I think you're right that my observation, I'm a regular user, and my observation is that the behaviours of cyclists are changing slowly over time, and so now there's almost an expectation that pedestrians will get out of the way of cyclists, which obviously is the opposite to what we've been doing. Just recently we've stenciled in on the footpath I think it must be every K or even less, a stencil on there saying share with care and give, cyclists give way to pedestrians. So I'd hope that was actually would help the situation, and that's the response I've given to those who have come to me is let's see what those stencils do, because it's only been the last 3 or 4 weeks that they've been in.
Oh, I thank you for that. And, oh, sorry. Oh, and the other, of course, I suppose we should have anticipated it, but there's a lot of fear with older people about the scooters in town. A heck of a lot. One person said to me she won't be going out on the footpath anymore, too scared because can't hear. So, yeah, we should have anticipated, and I know it's a trial, but there is a lot of worry about it in the centre of town, not so much anywhere else, although the walkway people talk about, oh my God, now we're going to have scooters as well. And you know I'm very pro the scooters, but there is a lot of fear.
Absolutely, and I think that you've made the decision for it to be a trial, and I think the emphasis is going to be on that trial to make sure that we get that right, and working with the owner, the developer of the system. The big difference that I see between this and the others around the country is that each site can be mapped differently, so you can have a different speed in a different street. And I think that's where some of those riding orders of the trial will be really important to see what works and what doesn't, and in some areas they may not be appropriate for if they are smaller footpaths, and conflict does come out of those areas.
I hadn't thought about that response.
I think one of the benefits at the moment, or I'm hoping, is the fact that at least there's a businessman in town that we're dealing with, and I think he will be more responsive than probably somebody in Auckland or something like that to react.
The word will soon get around who owns them, and
exactly.
He certainly wants to get it right because he wants it to be a longer than a 6-month trial. He wants it to become permanent. So.
Yeah.
And I suppose we all appreciated the letter from somebody that I'll meet every Wednesday.
Thank you, Barry. If you could handle that, it'd be much appreciated.
I think I'm playing golf with him tomorrow too.
Good. Just on those e-scooters, I think talking to the developer of them, or the owner of them, their delay. There's a slight delay in their arrival, so they won't be here till about October, November. I think the original is August, September, wasn't it? Yeah. So, but anyway, he's dealing with the engineers on that road. All right. Any other members' reports? Tickety boo.
No, just to ask
Lovely.
my fellow councillors if they're free on Sunday at 11 o'clock. Greening Taupō's got a community planting day at the beginning of Wairake Drive near the roundabout from the ETA. So we're going to hope to get a couple of thousand plants in a couple of hours if you feel like getting your hands dirty.
The which end, sorry?
The ETA end.
Right, by Wairake Resort there, is it? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Thank you, Councillor Truman.
Oh yeah, and just to say on the 13th of July is going to be the first Mangakino Lake Hop, where everyone's coming to bring their cars. So that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. So it's about 80 registered.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, while we're on that subject, the Bentley's, the Bentley Car Club's coming. Keep an eye out for that. It's 100 years old this year. Millions of dollars worth of cars. Not that I've got one, but there are 4 Bentley owners in town. So I think there's going to be 100 cars coming for the day. So based out at the museum. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in July. About somewhere similar to that date there. But I can let you know. Yeah. Very good. Okay, thanks, councillors. I move that that report be accepted. The members' reports. Thanks, Councillor Councillor Rankin.